You're wondering how I'm breathing here? They lied to us, bro. Look, there's oxygen here. Look, I'm breathing normally.
Hey, so a bunch of y'all been saying I shouldn't keep the little alien I found. But like, he's my dude now, my little space homie. I'll never hurt him.
Yo, the little guy just showed me where I can find water. He knows where the water is. Bro, he's not just cute, he's a genius. We're about to hydrate on the moon.
Hey, y'all, so we found the moon water. Bro, I'm not even exaggerating. This water, it's different.
You're wondering how I'm breathing?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? That's crazy. Those were some crazy little videos, huh? How we doing tonight? Sunday night, stuff going on. Oh, hey, look at that. Got a guest already coming in. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Jim. How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
I heard you went 5 hours last night.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking last night. I really don't.
27 stories.
Actually, I did like 32 stories last night. That's what it turned out to be.
Wow.
Quite a few. I'm good. I have a bunch of stuff actually lined up for tonight. There's some crazy shit happening in Idaho. I don't know if you know about it. There's some kind of shooting going on. There was some fire started. The firemen showed up and they started shooting the firemen. Like 11 firemen have been shot.
In Idaho?
Yeah, Idaho.
That shit's happening in LA and Chicago, dude.
I know. Look at this. It's Mr. Julio.
What's up, Dave? Long time no see. What's up, Jim? Where'd Jim go?
Hello. Jim is here. Am I not here?
You're here. How you doing, Julio?
I'm doing fine. What's up, Jim?
What's up, Julio?
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate
No problem. I was getting scared. I thought something happened.
No, I had to reboot my computer because, it happens. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, that's what happens when you watch Farscape for 3 hours.
Well, it's what happens when you use your music software and it screws up your audio settings.
So there's what city in Idaho are they shooting?
Coeur d'Alene, right outside of Coeur d'Alene.
They're shooting. Is this like some kind of terrorist attack?
I don't know. We're going to find out. Before we get into that, though, there's a couple things I wanted to pull this up. This is, let's see here. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. This is something. This is what happens when you in Paris, these days. Okay, this is Paris.
Don't get me wrong, I love living in Paris, but it is not for the fucking weak. I want to be able to go outside right now and to be able to enjoy life, but I've been harassed so many fucking times in this goddamn city that I'm afraid to go anywhere fucking alone. And there's a whole beautiful city out there that I just want to see, but I'm actually fucking terrified. Send help, please. Please tell me to go back to my country. I will.
So is she American, Jim?
I guess she wasn't speaking French, you know.
Is she in Paris, Texas?
I don't know. No, it says, so this is the result of glorifying criminals in Paris. He who spares the wolf sacrifices the sheep.
Oh, so this is about all the Muslims that are taking over the city, basically, right? Because I'm sure they're harassing all the white women. Yeah, that's been a big thing going on over there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is how they pacify those people. This is how they pacify them.
In the world?
Just keep. This is how they pacify the animals in Paris. Ready? See, so they just send this guy out, and he distracts them. He shows them that, and then they cannot commit any crimes because they're big. Yeah, their mind just can't handle it.
You know, it's funny that girl was mentioning about not being able to go outside in Paris without getting harassed. It's the same way in like Philadelphia, New York, Washington. I mean, not that different, really.
So here's the Idaho active shooter latest update. This is as of 8:02 p.m. It says sniper, whatever. It says Idaho active shooter latest. Firefighters ambushed while responding to a brush fire. At least 2 dead. Bodies still on the mountain. The sheriff says FBI, U.S. Marshals on the scenes. Cops actively taking sniper fire. Possibly multiple shooters. 0 suspects in custody.
You and the public as much information as quickly as possible, so that approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Campbell Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities, and we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. And that's really all that we know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
So why the 2 deaths, are they fire personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off the mountain?
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
In Brown Cranston, you mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at
No,
the moment?
nope, we do not.
Outside of the spokesman, how are you going about evacuating people from
What type of firearms are being used?
At the next briefing, if you'd like. People are still coming off the mountain, so we would only, this is an interesting dynamic. This, we have seen some of these things in.
Do you have like a risk of wildfire?
Okay. Well, that's the sheriff. I don't know. We're not gonna listen to his whole thing, but you have that.
They're just gonna ask dumb questions that he has no clue what to say.
Yeah. So this says Kootenai County Sheriff Department officers are actively taking sniper fire. responding to the scene of Canfield Mountain in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. At least 2 people were found, shot, and killed after firefighters were ambushed on the mountains. Here's what we know. Firefighters responded. There was reports of a fire. They were ambushed. 2 people were shot and killed. Gunman is using a high-powered long guns. Hoping that someone has the sheriff says he hopes that someone has a clear shot and is able to neutralize the threat. Active shooter firing at the officer. So we're not gonna listen because this is the same thing we just watched. So,
well, what do you think, Jim? This sounds like
well, I don't know. It could have been a fire started on purpose. It could have been something went wrong with a grow operation, like someone said, and they stumbled across it. There is that area of Idaho is known to have a very large concentration of, let's say, white supremacists.
Okay.
It's like, I think if I'm not mistaken, the Aryan Nation or something is right there. Their headquarters. That's right by Ruby Ridge.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and we have, Damagina says FBI assets are headed to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide technical support, operational supports, and active scene.
Isn't it a little early to send the FBI to just like shootings at a fire? Like,
I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. Something doesn't make sense. They said there was U.S. Marshals involved and all these other people. So it's like, what's going on?
Do they send the FBI to L.A. when they're shooting firefighters at building fires or shooting firefighters in Chicago like they do, Jim? I've never seen the FBI show up.
I don't get it either. But so that's that. And then here we'll have this. This is the initial radio call from the first responders in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, has been released, capturing the moments they realized they were under fire and walked into the ambush.
Central BC 5, Central BC 5. BC 5 up 6. Send law enforcement right now. There's an active shooter zone. They're shot. BC 3's down. BC 1's down. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here. 551, 10 or 14 up here. Stop. Get out of the way. 10 or 14. Engine push 551. Do not come up here. 51 copies. Remaining staging. Central from 551. 551. You get an ETA on life flight, please.
Well, here's the thing. If they found a dead guy with the weapon, I would like to know how he got dead. Did he kill himself? It's very convenient that they just find a guy. They were reporting that it was multiple people. There's shots coming from, if I'm not, I saw stuff saying there was shots coming from multiple directions. So it's just, I don't know,
It's also, I'm listening to this call, Jim, and all I can think about is like a true crime podcast where the cop killed the other cops because he had a beef with them, and he's screaming, "Oh my God, they're shooting at us!" And he took them out because they were screwing his girlfriend or his wife or something. You know what I'm saying, Julio? 10 years from now, we're gonna find out this was all bullshit.
I don't know.
Doesn't you see what Life Flight has to offer and go and get started? Also, if you can do enact the MPI for the county, please.
Sorry, I couldn't copy. I was copying BC.
Is at the upper parking lot. Is at the upper parking lot. Up on the dirt parking lot. We need law enforcement up here immediately. Law enforcement up here immediately.
Copy upper parking lot. Immediately out law enforcement.
Yeah, another Coeur d'Alene firefighter down. Needs help immediately. We need law enforcement immediately.
I copy another firefighter down. Continuing law enforcement. I copy. 2 battalion chiefs. 1 off. 1 firefighter down.
As you say, Beth, I'm down. Both battalion chiefs are responsible. The parking lot. I'm not having any response from the firefighters are down. Out. I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in.
I copy. Do you want life flight to launch?
100% sure.
Okay, so he's making huge assumptions there, right, Jim? It's clear.
So just, there's this guy says multiple firefighters ambushed and shot in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho after an apparent fire was set to lure them in. Suspect on the run. Listen to the scanner. So this is probably more.
Law enforcement, code 3 now up here. 551, 10 or 14.
That's the same scanner we just listened to. JD Schwalbach says they always report multiple people first. Its reports are made by idiots. It's the law. Yeah. Generally speaking. So, here we go. This says 9 firefighters and 2 police officers have been shot in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. A suspect started a wildfire to lure law enforcement to the area. Shots were reportedly fired from a hillside.
So what goes on in that area of Idaho, Jim? What's your hunch?
They're saying it's
no. I mean, there's that is an area that is that's like this is the same area where Randy Weaver, where Randy Weaver lived, where Ruby Ridge and all that. There's white supremacists there. There's all types of, but there's all types of other people there too. It's not just them. It's other organizations. There could be cartel stuff going on there because it's right close to the border with Canada. So who knows?
That was my first thought, Jim, to be honest with you.
So there could be cartel stuff there going on. So, and this was a show I was watching earlier about it. It went for about 3 hours, but we're not going to watch it from this guy Watcher on the web. He's great, but he just basically breaks down, and he had all the different links and stuff coming through.
I mean, it seems to me like it could be like you mentioned cartel. Like it could be a we can get you anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's Idaho.
Yeah, and here's Zero Hedge. Everyone's been shot up here. Arsonist sets wildfire in northern Idaho, opens fire on firefighters, police in ambush.
I don't know about that response. Somebody said this is Antifa. I'm like, I don't know about that.
I wouldn't want to make any assumptions about what it is up there at this point until we know something. But like this.
Yeah, but this is our next conspiracy theory for the next 20 years, right?
Well, this guy's live. I don't know.
I love this guy.
Dan Bongino, the deputy director. I gotta try to cue it up to the right place.
I'm on scene.
2 killed after suspect shooting at firefighters. Responds to wildfire near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The suspect has not been caught. Ever wonder where some of these?
Now they're saying they found a body in the chat, right?
Right. Well, we're going to keep. This is a developing story here. So it's not the so-called climate crisis narrative being pushed by far-left Democrats to justify a heist of the U.S. Treasury through climate policies like the Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal. In some cases, it's arson, sometimes even eco-terrorism. Shocking news just broke out. Multiple firefighters and officers were shot in an ambush at the Canfield Mountain Natural Area, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, according to North Idaho News. At 1:50 p.m. local time, multiple firefighters and law enforcement officers were shot in what has been described as a planned ambush while responding to a wildfire on Canfield Mountain, believed to be intentionally set to lure first responders. At least one life flight helicopter remains on standby while all others have been released. Multiple firefighters were shot. At least one has been transported with life-threatening injuries, though officials confirm the individual was conscious and alert during transport. Yeah, so here's all the.
That's probably every cop car in that county.
It's quite a few. Yeah. You know what I'm saying. I mean, it might be another reason why,
and
there's
scams and everything. Yeah.
And there was a guy in a U.S. Marshal's jacket.
Right, but that might be another reason why the feds are involved, because there's a lot of national parks and if I'm not mistaken, there's like reservations and stuff. So anytime you got like national lands, you're gonna have the.
It could be the news hotline.
That's your.
No, seriously. Hold on a second. Every fucking time.
Well, chat. Jim's taking a phone call, and Julio. What do you think about this eco-terrorism nonsense? Do you think this is just a radical?
I think it's a radical.
To
like Jim was saying, it's a breaking story, and I guess we don't want to speculate too much, but the fact that anybody, regardless of if they're this or that or the other thing, would do this to lure first responders in to shoot them,
right,
is
despicable.
Yeah. These poor guys went to fight a fire, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to know what the first thing the person said on the phone was? Are you streaming?
Oh, so they know you're streaming.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And they're like, all right, bye.
What?
Yeah. Are you streaming? Yes, I'm streaming. Okay, bye.
Yeah. So
yeah, in
other words, don't ask me for shit right now because I'm streaming.
Here's a breakdown of what's occurred so far. Shots fired at approximately 2 p.m. Idaho Tribune says 9 firefighters, 2 cops shot, 2 deaths. Fire believed to be set as a trap. At least 1 firefighter transported with life-threatening injuries, but conscious and alert. I mean, they're speculating that it was set as a trap, but I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. FBI, U.S. Marshals on scene. Additional victims may still be on the hillside. 1 life flight helicopter remains. Others released. Assistance from Spokane and beyond has arrived. 2 armed suspects may still be at large. They're saying 2 right there. People in the Canfield, Little North Fork, and Bumblebee drainage areas should move to safety immediately. The local sheriff says we're actually actively taking sniper fire as we speak. And Homeland Security Christy Noem briefed on active shooter standoff in Idaho developing. That's that. But I mean, I would think a lot of those people up there, have guns and stuff. So here's, Idaho Tribune is basically the same thing.
Right.
Reporting all the same stuff. And I guess it could be eco-terrorists, and then here it says heavily armored law enforcement units have just arrived on the scene in Idaho. Many federal agencies are now on scene, including FBI, DHS, and the U.S. Forest Service. This coward is going to be annihilated, he says.
So, Jim, all those cars parked on the side and the armed vehicles and stuff, they park and then they go searching? Is that they just park their car? I mean,
I don't know. Whatever I don't know.
Yeah, like exactly, Julio. Like, okay, you've got this kick-ass armored vehicle. Start driving up the mountain, right? Like, get your ass up there. Come on.
I don't think they could just drive up the mountain. That's the problem. Is I think that's like because of the terrain and everything.
I'm kidding, Jim. They've got all the protection.
So here was all this. This guy had all this stuff posted. I was saying earlier, he's got all the, the local EMS live feed, the state police feed, the sheriff feed. And it says a Bearcat's on scene. According to the sheriff radio feed, responding crews are separated and still pinned down. Police have established a second command post and are now retreating personnel from first command post to second, according to state police radio. Fire teams are communicating with each other and trying to organize an evac from the lower parking lot. They are grabbing medical kits out of the engines and leaving the trucks. The city this is happening in. I'll pull into the building when I figure out an address. State police just confirmed the obvious over the radio. Fire was set to create an ambulance situation. Fire crews are being pulled down off neighboring mountain to be staged at Station 4. All fire units in the lower parking lot are now moving past Engine 15, which could be inferred to be one of the trucks responding. It's Kootenai County Sheriff's Office is describing the situation as active shooter. The report is saying the fire started outside of Hayden, the small city north of Coeur d'Alene. So here's Lake Hayden Lake. So somewhere around here, right outside the mountains.
So it looks like they gave a stay away order to citizens. But I wonder, the fire's probably still going because they can't go at this point, probably reluctant to go fight it.
Because here it was likely the wildfire response guys getting shot at. Sifting more info, I'm hearing it was potentially the Cherry Hill Dog Park, which would make sense with the upper and lower parking lot talk. Okay. No,
I've
right
never been
next
to Idaho, so I have no idea what this.
They're saying it's right next to a utility substation. Several EMS and fire trucks have been told to relocate to 19th and Middleton, but not finding that intersection. This is 9th Street. One of EMS units report they have cleared the scene with 1. All but 1 life flights have been released. Local news. Sounds like fire crews have been pulled back. RTS teams requesting who to contact told PC-61.
You're right, Julio. The fire is uncontained.
Is that right?
That's what it said. Yeah.
Jesus, look at that.
These are all the cars lined up, U.S. Marshals, all stuff. Feds getting involved fast. This guy was doing a show on Rumble and YouTube about it. Okay.
What's frustrating, Jim, is and I'm not going to speculate, but there's so many different ways you could speculate with this. Like a million different scenarios it could be.
All right. I'm going to look for something current. Give me 1 second.
I sent you something on X that was somewhat current anyway. About the shelter in place.
Let's see.
What's that for, Julio?
What's that? Shelter in place? I think it just means the citizens of an area stay in your houses. And
are you talking about in Idaho?
Yeah.
Oh, they told them to stay locked in their house. Okay.
It was a release made by a lieutenant of, I think, the local police.
Okay, here we go.
I would think.
So here's Fox News. As authorities find man dead with firearms nearby hours after Idaho firefighters killed in ambush. So SWAT teams found a man dead on Canfield Mountain in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, after hours-long manhunt.
Meantime, we do have a Fox News alert now. There is an active shooter situation developing in Idaho. As you look at your screen right now, multiple firefighters have been ambushed and shot while responding to a brush fire in the city of Coeur d'Alene. Reports say multiple people have been injured. Police are asking people to avoid this area, and a press conference is scheduled for later this hour. We will bring you any new updates as we get them.
Okay. So it says a SWAT team is located to see cocksucker.
Good evening. Hope you're.
Damn it.
Oh, I hate that shit, man.
Me too.
A SWAT team has located a deceased man and a nearby firearm hours after a sniper shot and killed 2 firefighters and injured another while they were battling a wildfire in Idaho. Authorities confirmed late Sunday. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office said the deceased male was located on Canfield Mountain. A shelter in place was lifted, but an active wildfire remained, the Sheriff's Office said. Authorities are expected to provide more information at a 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time press conference. The update came hours after the International Association of Firefighters confirmed that 2 victims were killed. The 2 victims who were killed were firefighters. While responding to a fire earlier today in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, IAFF members were ambushed in a heinous act of violence. 2 of our brothers were killed by a sniper, and a 3rd brother remains in surgery. Wow, that's terrible. That family's got to be really hurt. 3 brothers.
Yep, that's first thing I thought.
Their families in law enforcement and your
family. I mean, they're all going in the same profession and everything. Wow.
Yeah, they got to be careful. What if it was a bad? Anyway, FBI Deputy Director Damagino said the agency is on scene and they're still very active and dangerous. FBI technical teams. Go ahead.
Weren't they saying there were 2 shooters earlier?
Well, that's what the guys they said earlier. There was 2 suspects, 2 shooters.
Okay.
And what I saw recently, they said they found 1 person dead with a firearm. They didn't say how he got dead, who he was. If there's more of them.
And the firearm was nearby. Okay. Like,
yeah.
Was it a sniper rifle at least? Or was it just like a 9mm? What the hell was it? So yeah, it's I mean, obviously they didn't get to see who the snipers were, so
no.
If nobody talks, catching the second sniper, if there was an actual second sniper, would be pretty much impossible to find, I would guess. Especially since, well, the problem is associations, right? So like the guy that's dead, he's gonna have a list of friends. He's gonna have phone conversations and text messages and shit on his phone. So they'll probably track him down that way. Electronic reports, you know.
Look at that. I had a $2 super. I don't know. Is this a super sticker, super chat? I don't know what this is. $2. $2 is $2 though. Terry, thank you very much for the $2 donations. Greatly appreciated. All early reports are wrong, Tristan. Thank you. And this, like Jay Schwalbach says, all early reports are wrong. Trust on this. They're always wrong. Early reports.
Yeah, the cop's freaking out, right? He's getting shot down at, you know, he's just like, holy hell. And, you know, there's at least 2 of them out there.
Oh, where did Julio go? That was weird. Like Star says here, it might be a hiking victim and not a shooter. Yeah, it could have been someone just hiking with a gun, you know, and then, you know, because you're in the woods, there's bears and cougars and stuff like that, or, you know, mountain lions, so you're going to have a gun. So, you know, maybe it could be just that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, so during a news conference, the Kootenai County Sheriff Robert Norris said at least 2 people were killed, possibly firefighters. Norris added they're still actively taking sniper fire. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off the mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on the mountain. So it's a very, very frustrating situation. We do not know who the suspect or suspects are, and we do not know how many suspects there may be. Man, Julio must be having internet problems. Is it storming?
Or he's eating salad.
A spokesman for the Northern Lakes Fire Protection confirmed that the situation to Fox News Digital, saying the active shooter situation is very active wildfire which seen were related. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office issued an alert early Sunday afternoon stating an active shooter at Canfield Mountain. Injuries have been reported. Though the severity remains unknown, please avoid the area. Norris said that they are developing a plan to move about the mountain as soon as they get the fire under control. Officials confirmed the firefighters were responding to a brush fire near East Nettleton Gulch Road when the shooting started. Norris said the suspect used what appeared to be a modern-day high-powered sporting rifle. I hate that they say that.
Yeah, like I bought a 9mm last week, Jim, and he's got a wall full of ARs. I'm like, oh, he goes, I can't sell it to you. I'm like, oh man. He goes, I'm sorry, dude. It's Illinois. I can have them in my store, but I can't sell them. I said, so how long before the Supreme Court overturns it? He goes, hopefully soon. We're still waiting.
It says, due to the danger, fireworkers had to retreat, and the brush fire continues to pose a threat. Authorities are urging residents in the vicinity to stay vigilant and exercise caution as the situation develops. I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This guy repeats himself a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
This is going to be if these individuals are not neutralized quickly. This is going to be likely a multi-day operation. This is going to be. Norris added that he is hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize the threat because it did not seem like the suspects are going to surrender anytime soon. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take the shot and neutralize the threat. Attorney General Pam Bondi shared a statement and said more support was heading to Idaho. Thank you to our incredible FBI agents on the ground assisting the local authorities in Idaho. We are praying for all, Bondi wrote. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem also said the department is actively monitoring the situation and justice will be served.
Yeah.
Justice will be served. Multiple heroic firefighters were attacked. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. In northern Idaho, this is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador also reacted to the situation, stating that this should never happen.
Raul Labrador is the name of the Attorney General in Idaho.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that he's a Democrat.
And he's not from Idaho.
Yeah.
He's one of those Californians that have been living there long enough.
Yeah. So let's see. That's that update there. So it says they, as far as I know, it says they found one dead guy. So I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait for more stuff to come out. All right. So we're gonna, this is all I have really on this topic. I don't know. It's like a, breaking news type of thing, but it's one of them things where it's not. It's breaking news and it's pressing news and stuff that we should cover, but I don't know what else to say about it. I think as far as we know right now, as it stands, the shooter is dead. No one knows at this point how he died. The other Steve wants to know where the other guy started the show. Julio must be having some internet trouble. Steve,
he just texted me and said he's rebooting his system.
Yeah, or something's wrong with his computer, so he'll be back. His name is Julio Scissors. He's a musician. He's a great musician. I don't want to tell you, but he's pretty famous from some very famous bands. That one that used to wear makeup, and I'll just say that he could blow you a kiss. That's all I'll say. Anyway. So we're going to switch topics now to DEI. It's reasonable to assume that all diversity and equity and inclusion administrators and departments have rebranded rather than being dissolved. This is because they found out that the administrator here at the University of North Carolina, UNC, admitted that they didn't cancel their DEI stuff. So, hey, Julio. So it says DEI initiatives remain active under new names, but most administrators don't admit it on camera like UNC's Janiqua Sanders did. She has been fired. Janiqua. Her name is Janiqua.
Did she get fired for saying it out loud?
Yeah, for saying it out loud. So here's Janiqua. Let's hear what Janiqua has to say.
Like, you guys can't even do that here? It sounds like a lot of changes.
What do they call it? Replace and repeal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hate that.
Decision, basically. Okay. So we had a former, I guess you would consider it a DEI policy.
Yeah.
It also established a CDO presence on this campus. I'm just going to give you the real spiel.
Yeah.
About to hide it.
Please.
I have a general feeling that you're fine. And that you won't go back and say, like, hey, she told me about all the stuff. Are there things happening?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Love. Okay. So it's equity work is still happening on campus. Don't worry.
Whoops.
Yeah. So we've renamed, we've revised, we've calibrated, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because language changes, right?
Mm.
But the people who have to be in the presence of in the space don't change.
No.
So
smart.
I think the guys that it's like leadership. In order to lead diverse groups of people, you have to know about diverse groups of people. We don't have to call them diverse groups of people, but we can just say that everybody has different stocks of knowledge.
Yeah,
word of the year is finesse.
Okay.
So there are certain things that I can't say.
Yeah.
And I haven't said them this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at learning how to be peaceful. Just really dedicated, I guess is the word, to making sure that our students feel loved and supported. I could care less about whatever you want to call my office.
Come on.
All of that's going to change regardless.
Exactly.
If I was going to merge or shift or change,
Something.
maybe in 15 years, like, it was going to be something different anyway.
Language,
Just like
it evolves.
Always.
We don't use the same language we used 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Always evolves. Yep.
Even though some people still want to.
Oh.
But with that being said, but with that being said, one of the things that I always think about is how can we address those issues and those conversations, but in a people way that's PC. If you're looking for like a outward DEI position, not to happen.
Yeah. Okay. But it's
but if you are interested in doing work that is covert, there are opportunities.
Okay.
So covert, like.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Like, think about this way. We're thinking of student success, student retention.
Unbelievable.
So basically, she got busted because, what is it, Jim? That they stopped adding federal funds if you still follow DEI policies at these schools? Is that
the Department of Education said you can't do this. We're not paying for this. This is a violation of Title VII, Title IX. It's a violation of the Civil Rights Act to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and basically schools are getting sued over it because it's discrimination. You can't discriminate against people. This is ridiculous. So,
What upset me the most about what she said is when the phrase language moves.
Right.
I mean, that's classic
Well, that's
1984
Right. They keep changing the languages and changing the stuff and saying, oh, this means this now. You know, so here she says, woke university administrator fired after hidden videos revealed that they are still implementing racist DEI policies at UNC, including UNC Asheville Dean of Students Megan Pugh, along with former assistant director of UNC Charlotte, Janiqua Sanders.
Oh, they were all fired.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah. Here's the story from the Daily Snail. Did you guys see that? I mean, I guess because this is a Daily Mail. Did you see that Aaron Imholt was in the Daily Mail?
Yeah, we showed it on my stream tonight.
He's moving on up.
We used your link.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Of course. Okay. That's classic, dude. Like, disgraced DJ and podcaster.
So, yeah. Several college administrators in the UNC school system have been fired after they were secretly recorded saying they were still trying to implement DEI policies. Accuracy in Media, a nonprofit which described itself as citizen activism to expose corruption and lawbreaking, covertly filmed conversations with several North Carolina school employees, which led to them losing their jobs.
Can you pause it for a second, Jim? Can you hold on a second?
Okay.
She said, "You seem like somebody I can trust."
Mm-hmm. So more than likely, you know why?
I don't care why. But she said, yeah. Like, and then she just shoved it right up her ass. Like, that's kind of cold-blooded, dude. Like, and the editing was super weird in that video. Like,
it was like they kept jumping, jump cut and stuff. But so I think more than likely it was like a person of color that was talking to her. So that's why she was assumed that, you know, all people of color are going to think like her.
Of course, because I think that's who that picture was at the end. It says truth in media or whatever. Or
right. And it's just like, that's how James O'Keefe keeps busting all these people in government, because he finds the ones who are gay, basically, you know, who are gay, you know, either basically it's mostly gay men. And so they basically catfish them on Grindr or something and get them, you know, with some.
Oh, at a restaurant talking.
Yeah. And so, and so they want, you know, they're like, oh.
Well, what do you think of that methodology, Jim? Like catfishing people?
You know, when it comes to the government, fuck them.
That's fair.
You know, they're the shit they do to us every day. So it says President Donald Trump set to work dismantling DEI initiatives from federally funded programs through a series of executive orders during his first weeks back in office. The aggressive crackdown meant universities were asked to select students for admission based on their academic credentials rather than fulfilling diversity, equity, and inclusion quotas.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. You know, UNC Asheville Dean of Students Megan Pugh was caught on tape saying administrators probably still do implement DEI policies anyway, but in a quiet way, adding, "I love breaking the rules." Oh, that's great. Several other administrators in the state have also been seen on camera echoing the same sentiment. Some of those taped lost their jobs as a result. I'm so glad you guys are still doing equity work, the undercover reporter told Pugh on a Zoom call captured in one video. I mean, we probably do anyway, but you got to keep it quiet, Pugh replied. They're all, you know, like, why are they all fat too?
Because this is the only job they can get because they're part of a DEI initiative, dude. They're not qualified for these fucking jobs. They're not qualified at all, dude.
I agree.
They have no idea what they're doing.
I've always heard this.
Wrestler Town, you are in the right place.
What's up, Wrestler Town? Yeah, even the government. Right, I've always heard the phrase is to employ the unemployable. That's what the government's there for.
Yeah,
like a babysitting service for
where kids spend $100,000.
I mean, is this the same woman and just she's wearing a wig in this other photo?
That's not her natural hairdo.
It's two different women.
That's two different women. They kind of look like they could be the same woman though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
When the reporter asked if she had to keep it on the down low, Pugh said, "Yeah, but I love breaking the rules." She went on to say administrators would keep pushing DEI policies until more or less they get mad at us. Pugh also agreed that the school was supportive of secretly continuing with DEI rules, adding that her hope and intention was that we can still incorporate those kind of things, but under a broader banner. She was later fired by the college.
Okay, so Jim, are you telling me the people above her didn't know?
Oh, they knew.
Yeah. So are they just saving face? Like, oh, we got to fire. We got to make These are our pawns. I mean, they were a DEI hire in the first place, so fuck them. I mean, or screw them. Good. I mean,
but there's so many people like this in the college systems and the government. It's like playing whack-a-mole trying to get rid of them. There's too many of them.
There's too many.
Yeah. It says Assistant Director of Leadership and Community Engagement at UNC Charlotte, Janiqua Sanders, was also caught on video echoing the same sentiment. I mean, what is this? Assistant Director of Leadership and Community Engagement. Come on. We have way too many. We have way too many administrators in the schools as it is now. That's the problem.
Why do you need community engagement at a college? Like, why do you need that? Like, whoever goes to that office, if you're in college. Like,
if you're looking for an outward DEI position, it's not going to happen, she told the undercover reporter, but without knowing she was being filmed. But if you're interested in doing work covert, there's opportunities. Yeah, I know Allegan News. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how the reporters do work. I mean, but it used to always be there was a sexy honey, what they call a honey pot or a sex kitten or whatever would go and trick, basically weasel their way in to get the news from the dodgy old man or whatever. But
yeah, put a few drinks in them.
Yeah,
loosen them up.
When asked whether equity work was still happening on campus, Sanders said, "I can't say that, but we've recalibrated, so to speak. I'm just really dedicated to making sure that our students feel loved and supported," she added. "I could care less about whatever you want to call our office." Sanders is no longer employed by the institution, according to Yahoo. UNC Wilmington employees Asher Person and Ashley Fleming were also recorded in similar interactions. Person, who is a coordinator at school's Mohin Schlotz LGBTQIA Center, confirmed that some staff were still working on DEI policies. Well, if they didn't think that somebody working at the LGBTQIA Center, then I don't know.
God, what is
Wait do you
that?
Wait till you get to the next sentence, Jim.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Upperman African American Cultural Center coordinator Flem. What the fuck does that even mean? Upperman African American Center Culture.
Jibbity.
Said DEI was still being funded by money, but money had been moved around. So this is Megan Pugh. Trump began his second term in the White House with a bonfire of DEI policies, which the government said have been pushing anti-Semitic, anti-American, Marxist, and radical left ideologies. Yeah. In May, the Justice Department announced the formation of a new unit to crack down on federally funded universities that had diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, including civil anti-fraud law. If a university accepts federal funds, could violate the False Claims Act when it encourages anti-Semitism or refuses to protect Jewish students, allows men to intrude into women's bathrooms, or requires women to compete against men in athletic competitions. Deputy Director Todd Blanche said in an announcement. Colleges and universities cannot accept federal funds while discriminating against their students. The False Claims Act is a federal civil law that allows government to recover funds lost due to fraud. Private citizens can also sue on the government's behalf and become eligible to receive a portion of the recovered proceeds.
See, I think that sentence is the sentence there is very clear. Colleges and universities cannot accept federal funds while discriminating against their students, regardless of their color or background.
Right. And and discrimination is false promoting students that don't deserve it over people that do deserve it. That's the discrimination part. Like, oh, you meet a certain criteria that we want for our university going forward, but those students they're barely qualified to get into college, Julio. It's like,
but as the population gets dumber and as there's less aptitude in the country, you've got to put them somewhere, I think that's my take. I mean, what do you do with them?
Community college until they can qualify for a 4-year college and get their bachelor's degree that way, like we had to do when we were young.
Like, be 50 years old by the time they get through.
Too bad. Go fucking work at McDonald's. Sorry. If you can't get into school based on what your grades are, but you get there because of your DEI qualifications, but the kid who could get there because of his grades can't get in because he doesn't meet the DEI qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, I'm glad the administration is actually trying to do something against. We have literally 3 3.5 years to fix this stuff.
And what?
And we're in a hurry.
And if you're a 16, 17-year-old kid in high school, what's your motivation to try harder? I'm just saying.
Yeah. So Harmeet Dillon did
began to hear from people we're negotiating with that UVA was unable to certify that it was in compliance with these laws. And so, but to your point, they actually did, I would call it using a series of euphemisms to simply rebrand and repackage the exact same discriminatory programs that are illegal under federal law. And my job as the top federal civil rights law enforcer in the country is to make sure that every school that receives federal funding is compliant with federal law.
She is hands down. I'm going to say she has been the best appointment in the Justice Department that I've seen so far. She is crushing it.
Who is she?
Harmeet Dillon. She was in the private sector. She's a top civil rights attorney who, First Amendment attorney and everything. She was Dillon Law Group. I don't know if you know who Ron Coleman is.
Yep.
She's Ron Coleman's partner. It was Ron Coleman worked for Dillon Law Group. I think he still works for Dillon Law Group, but she no longer is associated with it. She's now with the Justice Department. But
she did a lot of the fraud, election fraud stuff.
Oh yeah, she was all over the election fraud stuff. She tried to run for head of the RNC, but she lost. She lost. But yeah, she's great. She's great. I don't know what happened. All my bookmarks stuff got screwed up on all my bookmarks. So where'd I go?
Go on. Go on.
So we're going to talk about this real quick. This is another story here. Lawfare. Norm Eisen, a key figure in raising millions for legal efforts against Trump, nearly revealed that Judge Juan Merchan was involved in Alvin Bragg's legal strategy to target Trump. Eisen was confident Merchan would sentence Trump to prison, preventing him from taking office. However, something unexpected caused a shift, averting the outcome. Ironically, the close call with authoritarian tactics mirrors the autocracy Eisen claims to oppose.
What now? On this threat of autocracy in our nation, we need to sound the alarm. This was the closing paragraph of my New York Times op-ed. Very privileged to be a regular guest essayist there. And I wrote, for my post-trial editorial, I wrote the case for why Trump should be sentenced to jail, I think less than a year in jail. And the last paragraph of that, I said, one of the important parts of the verdict, and I think the message that would be sent by a jail sentence is an alarm to the American people about the threat we face. Because if you look at Trump and his allies' responses, I this morning went up before I got on the podcast, the American Autocracy Threat Tracker. We track all of Trump and his allies' promises, hundreds and
Oh, I just saw something in the chat. I want to bring up this guy. Facts are good. I don't know what he's talking about. He's running off about where he starts to go back here. That's not how affirmative action works. Now you're talking about legacy students. Affirmative action doesn't mean you choose an unqualified person. Being in Trump's cabinet does. Oh, okay. So why don't you actually talk about facts? It sounds like you aren't familiar with college. Maybe that's why you don't know how it works. Okay.
I always thought college, to get into a college, you had to pass certain tests.
Well, no, see, a lot of these things are taking the tests out. Discussing white supremacy isn't discrimination. Pretending it is racism, though. Wow. Yeah. Okay. This guy. I was looking for a political debate, not another factless Klan rally. Have fun in your anti-black and Latino bubble. Hey, Dave, your wife is Latino, right?
Absolutely, and so are my. So
are your kids.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I hate when people make these assertions. They don't even know what they're talking about. We're talking about a news story and talking about it, and somehow they just immediately go to, you're a racist.
Yeah. I know when my son applied for college, he had to qualify based on his test scores and his grades in high school to even be thought about getting in there. But whatever. And yeah,
I think all of us agree that you should be judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't.
Yeah.
They should. Personally, I think they should have on all these like college applications, job applications. They shouldn't even have like someone looking at the job shouldn't even have your name. It should just have like a number. That's it. And then they look at the qualifications and no name,
no race.
Then none of that stuff. Yeah, just what I'm saying. But no name, no race, no nothing, no identifying stuff. Just this is the qualifications, and either they get that job or they don't.
Here's your social security number.
Has nothing to do with whether you're qualified or not. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
What have you done? What have you achieved? And are you going to be good in our?
Affirmative action was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court not too long ago.
It's racist, of course.
It's racism. You can't solve past discrimination with future discrimination. That's just stupid.
Right. You move on and you learn from your mistake. Yeah, that's all you can do.
This guy looks very angry.
He is. This is Norm Eisner.
Hundreds to impose a dictatorship in the United States. He admits he's going to be a dictator on day one. And there's a new element now of naked and baseless retaliation for the guilty verdict. So I think imposing a jail sentence will sound the alarm. Just Trump's reaction to conviction has sounded the alarm to the American people that what he's promising for 2025 is not normal. And I think when that choice is clearly presented, the American people are going to reject dictatorship. They don't want.
What I want to know is, since they were able to go after all Trump's attorneys and say that the lawsuits that they filed, somehow it was a criminal conspiracy, why can't these lawyers be gone after for a criminal conspiracy? Because they're clearly conspiring to do a coup.
Right. I mean, they want the future president to be locked up for a year for false promises.
Yeah.
What?
Like, why can't they go after all Newsom's attorneys that were filing the lawsuits trying to take the National Guard away from Trump? Because that's clearly a coup. They're trying to take away control of the military from the president. That's a military coup. They were trying to do it through judges, so they should all go to jail.
Well, did they overturn it finally?
Yeah, that they got knocked down. Even the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals said, "Yeah, you can't do that."
Oh, the Ninth Circuit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It was just some wackadoo, crazy leftist judge who's like 89 years old, who was Breyer, who used to be a Supreme Court justice's brother, who should be retired or on senior serve, but whatever.
Yeah, he can't drive to work, but he can pass judgment on law. Yeah.
Someone running this country who's going to sick his DOJ on his political adversaries.
Exactly what Biden did. He sicked his DOJ on Trump and all the Trump supporters. So this is just so ridiculous. For 4 years.
Trump going through court cases. Like, these hypocrites, man. This guy should be in jail. He's an attorney, right?
Yeah, this is an attorney. He's got some political connections, though, as far as I'm pretty sure.
I think attorneys just like to hear themselves.
Anthony Weiner.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got some political connections, so I think.
Who was Weiner's wife? Wasn't it like Hillary Clinton's right hand?
Hillary Clinton's right hand, Huma Abedin, who now just recently married George Soros' son.
What?
Yes.
I didn't know that was her.
Yes, that's who just married George Soros' son.
So
just because he was convicted, even though they did nothing wrong. We have a strong team, judge, prosecution team, very good defense team if Trump lets them do their job.
I thought today's proceedings, with the note coming out from the jury, and then while we were getting ready to answer the first note, we got a second jury request to have the legal instructions read back to them by the judge, which was an 80-minute adventure.
Well, he showed them.
Yeah. So this guy, he needs to go. This guy. Supposedly, this guy has some connections to. Chief Justice Roberts.
Roberts?
Yeah, that they were like college roommates or something.
Makes sense.
Before I get accused of anything, the mother of my 4 children is half Jewish, so.
Okay, I don't understand what that means.
I don't know. I'm just waiting for somebody to come in the chat and accuse us to be.
Oh, whatever. Okay, well, here we go. It's been 59 minutes and 38 seconds, so I'm going to say goodbye to Twitter and goodbye to Facebook, because for 1 hour, that's all you clowns get on Facebook and Twitter. You get 1 hour. You want to watch the rest of the show, come over to YouTube or Rumble. That's the way it is. Bye-bye.
Bye, clowns.
Bye, clowns. Bye, clowns.
But we like to be in here, clowns.
And it's I like to say it like they did in Schindler's List. Bye, clowns. So here, mentally ill, detained, and alone. Trump budget cuts force immigrants to fight in solitude.
Good. Good.
Journalism that speaks to you, not at you. Look at this guy. So he's sitting there in a prison all alone, mentally ill, detained, and alone. Trump's budget cuts force immigrants to fight in solitude. So basically what they're complaining about is that illegal immigrants are, a bunch of mentally ill illegal immigrants are fighting alone to stay in the country. I wouldn't think we want mentally ill illegal immigrants to stay in the country.
I don't want illegal immigrants to stay in the country.
What about our homeless mentally ill people that can't get into a facility, Jim? We're worried about the illegal?
Yeah. It says, mentally ill detainees facing deportation are by law afforded a fair hearing, but a national program to provide attorneys has been gutted. Actually, we're not supposed to provide attorneys. We're not supposed to provide immigration attorneys. The government doesn't have to. So this is what they're trying to do. It's just a scam where they're trying to say that they're all like basically, they're all autistic, so they all get attorneys. That's what they're trying to pull.
No, you need to. This isn't. You're not an American citizen. You have the right to a private an attorney. Do we read illegals their Miranda rights?
No, because it's not a punishment to be deported. Actually, that's why they're not entitled to an attorney. They don't have a right to be in the country. So, a quiet budget cut killed a national program to provide mentally disabled detainees attorneys in immigration court. The $12 million annual contract left 289 detainees adrift after losing their attorneys in April.
Those poor 280 people.
Mm-hmm. So, attorneys say they face an impossible choice: withdraw from the cases and leave their most vulnerable clients, or keep working for free. Well, don't they all get free ACLU lawyers? I mean, the ACLU's representing all the cartel and the MS-13 and Trinidad gangbangers. Why don't they represent the mentally ill people?
Yeah,
Who funds the ACLU, Jim? That's not fair funded, is it?
No, well, I'm sure USAID was giving them some money. I'm sure. The message came over a jail video call between an attorney and her client locked away in immigration detention. In an echoey, windowless room, she said, "I'm sorry, I can't be your lawyer anymore." Sophie Woodruff had to tell him twice. Her client could hear the words she was saying but didn't understand them. What?
Oh, it's amazing. They don't speak English when they can't, right, Julio?
Yeah. Gravel Paz Cartagena is mentally ill and legally incompetent. He has been in detention for nearly 600 days. Woodruff was the only person the 31-year-old Honduran immigrant could talk to. That was aside from his voices in his head. Okay, so why is he still in this country? We have enough crazy people that were born in this country. We don't need any crazy people from other countries. I'm sorry, we don't.
I'm a compassionate man, Jim.
We'll compassionately send them home.
Right, gently send them home.
He compassionately illegally crossed our border and paid somehow to get here.
Yeah, I mean, how did he? If he's legally incompetent, how the fuck did he make it all the way here from Honduras?
Yeah, and got through two countries to get here, right? So they all let him pass through their country because reasons, I guess.
Yeah, it would definitely be better PR for the ACLU if they were representing the mentally ill than gangbanger human traffickers. But I have a feeling that who knows, man?
There's no money in it.
There's no money in it. They're probably getting paid. Who knows? The ACLU could be getting paid from the cartels to do what they're doing. Who knows?
This is similar to the DEI person at the college you talked about earlier, Jim. It's like everybody's trying to find a way to skirt the rules. Is that the right term? Like get around stuff?
Well, it's the American Civil Liberties Union, not the illegal Civil Liberties Union. I mean, that's what bothers me, dude.
Definitely, Fatty. I say definitely they should all get as much peanuts as they want on the way home as long as nobody's allergic to peanuts, because that would be a cruel and unusual punishment.
I'd say give him twice the peanuts and dare him to eat them.
Yeah. And she had promised not to abandon him, but the Trump administration quietly canceled a $12 million annual contract on April 25th. Since 2013, it had paid private attorneys to represent detainees deemed mentally or cognitively incompetent and unable to represent themselves. Those attorneys filed a federal lawsuit in May challenging the abrupt change. In an April memo reviewed by USAID Today, DOJ contractors crossed out any reference to nationwide protections for detained non-citizens with serious mental disorders. By law, detainees with severe disabilities are still supposed to be given a fair hearing where they can present evidence and cross-examine witnesses. But now that they're caught up in the administration's zest to ramp up removals under the auspices of saving taxpayers.
Who wrote this article?
Somebody from USA Today.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
That means 289 immigrants like Paz Cartagena face removal around the country are suddenly adrift. Yeah. He could have already been home. He wouldn't be facing any of this if they just go home. Just go home. He won't face any of this.
I mean, he's been here for 600 days in a cell. He's been eating and sleeping well, Jim. I mean, I'm sure he's not complaining too harsh.
I'm sure they have facilities in his home.
I agree with J.H. Welbeck. He says he has friends that pay big money to go to Central Africa and see giraffes, elephants, lions. Trump has a program where they can do this for free. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, the ACLU lost its way 2 decades ago. I used to respect them until they got taken over by far leftists. The ACL rep, the KKK like they did in the past. No. Yeah, the ACLU represented the Illinois Nazi Party in the 70s because they wanted to march in Skokie, Illinois. It's a huge case. Went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said you have to give them a permit.
Right.
That was the ACLU. Yeah, I fucking hate Illinois Nazis too, but the Supreme Court, they have a right to be the Illinois Nazis.
Sure.
And march, say their stupid shit. But yeah, it says in a legal twist, hundreds of other mentally incompetent detainees in 3 states, Arizona, California, and Washington, are still offered attorneys due to a previous court ruling, but the rest are left to fend for themselves. Yeah. Well, technically, he says, yeah, the ACLU is on our side right now. They just don't know it. They're actually filed a lawsuit claiming that unborn babies have rights.
Wait, what?
We're going to get to that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, because, you know, they filed a lawsuit saying that all these babies that will be born in the future to illegal aliens, they have rights to be citizens. But I don't think they've thought it through all the way.
Yeah.
Because that would imply that one of those rights to unborn babies would be the right to life. You know, it's right there. That's like the first thing of right. You know, you can't be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So,
exactly. Bye-bye abortion or birthright citizenship. Yeah.
They're sort of overstepping their bounds there, though.
Yeah, they're they keep doing stuff, you know. So are you going to be out there in court? Still confused? Paz Cartagena asked Woodruff before hanging up the video call. He's not that confused. He's just said, "Are you going to be there in court?" He wants to see her. You know. Now formally withdrawn from the case, Woodruff said she's struggling to fully detach. Personally, it's devastating. I can't put this any clearer. If they deport him, he will die, and that's on my spirit. What are you talking about? How do you figure? How's he going to die if they deport him?
Do they not have facilities that can take care of him in his home country? Or they?
Yeah, they say you're not sick,
there?
motherfucker. Go to work. That's what they're saying. Like, you're not sick. Stop. Just stop.
Immigration attorneys told USA Today they face an impossible choice: continue working for free or cut ties with the most vulnerable clients they pledged to defend.
Then why don't they work free if they believe in it so much, Jim? I mean, don't attorneys work pro bono all the time if they believe in the cause?
Yep. Yeah. 6 attorneys enrolled in the program spoke about the sudden end to the funding. They facilitated interviews behind the detention center doors with detainees with a variety of mental health challenges. Oh, so they set up interviews with the mentally handicapped people with the papers.
So are these mentally handicapped people that are coming down off being on meth, alcoholic? I mean, what is their mental deficiency? I mean, I love this. Like, oh, I have a problem. What is it? Tell us what this guy from Honduras' mental illness is? Oh, it's not been diagnosed. We just know it's a mental illness.
It should be irrelevant.
Yeah, it says with the help of intermediaries and advocates, all but one of the detainees decided to remain anonymous for fear of impacting their cases. Only Paz Cartagena is identified by name. The Department of Justice, which administers the program, declined to answer questions about the past or future, citing pending litigation challenging the cut. National and local staff for the Immigration Court in Paz Cartagena's case said immigration judges are barred from speaking about it. So the depression inside detention. While in detention, Paz Cartagena's anxiety waxes and wanes. Sleepless nights torment him. If it's bad, he'll bang his head against the cinder block wall until concussion sets in. The pain numbs him.
I hear you.
So he thinks he has a right to be in our country. So he's here. So he thinks that, since he's not being defended properly, he's not getting his rights as a citizen. Dude, stop. Stop. I don't have any sympathy for this shit. I don't go to Mexico and try to be a citizen there, Jim. Taylor Ed wants to know, is Julio a bass player?
Yes, I do play bass.
All right.
Yeah,
you can't, I would love to have empathy, Jim and Dave. I'm like, I really do feel bad for people who suffer from things like this.
Oh, this is great. Wait, check this out. So this is good. Hold on. Just wait. I was reading ahead of her. When his now former attorney arrived from New Orleans to Aurora, Colorado detention center to meet Paz Cartagena, he was truly alone and struggling. Well, yeah, he's in detention. Of course he's alone. But the pair bonded over their mutual love of tattoos and reggaeton music.
He needs to go back.
They listened to the same top artists, Wisin and Yandel, Daddy Yankee, and of course, Bad Bunny.
Never heard any of them, but
Bad Bunny's all right.
So, Jim, could you imagine, like, your attorney, this chick shows up and she's all tattooed up? Like,
here we go. So this is it. Thank you for coming. He said, so Woodruff helped him compile an asylum claim. Paz Cartagena identifies as bisexual. He said he was raped by a police officer back home before crossing into the United States. Going back to Honduras as a member of the LGBTQ community would mean ostracization, violence, or death. The U.S. State Department warns that Honduran police and government there incite, perpetuate, or condone or tolerate such violence against LGBTQ individuals.
More made-up nonsense.
His mother and siblings are back in Honduras.
Yeah.
He has some relatives in the United States, but they're not in touch.
Yeah.
In a recent phone interview with USA Today, Paz Cartagena spoke in circles, confused about the timeline of his life and what would happen next. So he can't get his timeline of his life. In other words, he doesn't have his backstory straight.
Right.
Someone in here with me in my head, the voice writes and helps me write music.
I feel that.
Yeah. Another interview, Paz was lucid and understood his quandary. He recalled the run-in with local police in Colorado. He had been self-medicating with recreational drugs and was confused when plainclothes officers approached him that set off a cascade of events leading to his detention. So, yeah, I wonder exactly what happened, what kind of crime he was committing when they got arrested. Because Colorado doesn't normally doesn't work with ICE. So he must have done something pretty bad for ICE to get a hold of him.
Mm-hmm.
Records show
he's a victim.
Yeah. Records show he has not been convicted of a crime in the United States, but an immigration official says he's in the country illegally and subject to deportation. So I wonder, he must have he must have done something pretty bad for them to just basically say we're going to deport you.
Well, Jim, how many illegals go to court and they dismiss the charges because they don't want them to have a record, so ICE can't come get them? It happens all the time. Our legal system, our whole government, we're turning into Rome. We're going to be dead soon. It's terrible.
These people don't have a right to our judicial system, our medical system, anything our taxpayers pay for. They're not citizens. It's very simple.
There's a couple good questions here in the chat. It said, Elegant News said, didn't we pay Honduras a bunch of money via USAID to do trans surgery and LGBT acceptance training? Yeah, I think they did. I remember there was some kind of like trans play or something they did in Honduras. And then Jay Schwalbach has a great point. Is where did the money come from for the recreational drugs? It's a good question.
And
was he working?
SB Farmer's got a question for you.
What other instruments does Julio play? He plays the skin flute every night.
I do. No, I play all of them.
He can play it all. And he has a YouTube channel where he releases music once in a while.
So it says mental health and Djibouti. I don't understand what the booty has to do with mental health, but mental health of detainees often goes unnoticed throughout the immigration proceedings. It's usually up to an immigration judge or attorney to raise concerns or order an evaluation. But given the rapid-fire deportation regime, those timelines can be compressed or sometimes non-existent. That was the case for Neo Miant, one of the 8 men sent to disputed flight to South Sudan, who recently upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. Oh, so they're talking about one of the 8 guys who were like convicted pedophiles, convicted murderers that, were in prison and ordered deported, 10, 20 years ago. And Trump was finally kicking them out because no one would take them. So he sent them to Djibouti in South Sudan. So yeah, court records obtained by USA Today show instead of being housed in jail pending trial on sexual assault charges, Mayant lived in Lincoln Regional Center, a psychiatric hospital. Psychologists there evaluated him and ruled him mentally incompetent on 4 separate occasions until November 2019. He entered a no-contest plea in 2020 and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Yeah, this is the guy who was like sexually assaulting kids or something. So he should, no, they should be ejected from the country by catapult.
Jim, why do we need to give anybody a mental exam when they cross the border? Who cares? Who cares about their mental state or stability? You're illegal. Go away. Just go away.
Yeah. He was ordered. He was entered a no contest plea in 2020 and was sentenced to 12 years. He was paroled in 2023, so he got 12 years and he was out in less than 3, and then was taken into ICE custody and eventually removed. So yeah. Oh wow, look at that, man! Brian Oldenkamp coming in with 10 Jim Tells You memberships. Thank you, Brian. That is awesome. Thank you very, very, very much. Let's see who got them. Let's see if I can pull it up here. So we got Sadie received a gift membership from Brian Oldenkamp. Chain of Custody received a gift membership from Brian Oldenkamp. Darth Kitty, Kathy Trout, Nanner Nose, Woden Shot, Salty, Lynette C, Nerdrotic. Nerdrotic's a sub. Future Conflict. No, Neurotic. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So this piece is to try to get people to feel bad. That's all this is.
I think so. I think it's to get people to feel bad, try to say like, oh, we shouldn't do this. We should let them all stay. Let them all stay.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's preying on our kindness. Ooh, look at that, Brian. Jim. 10 memberships.
That's what I said. Thank you for the 10 memberships.
Julio's like,
is he behind or something?
No, he's
still away for a second. I'm sorry. I just saw.
Oh, okay.
Still up on the screen. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's nice.
Oh, I was like, what did I do? Anyway, back to
Djibouti.
Djibouti. Okay. Yeah, so he was sentenced to 12 years. He got out in 3 and taken ice. I did not learn about his previous competency issues. Jonathan Ryan, Miant's Texas immigration attorney, recently told. I wish I had. Yeah, no, doesn't really matter. He's got to go. While hundreds of detainees face uncertainty and organizations that were representing them are suing in federal court to have their funding restored, DOJ attorneys, however, argue that the suit isn't about ending a program, but rather cutting a contract, which is within the scope of the government's rights. They have not singled. They will revamp the funding with other attorneys. Good. Representatives from the Executive Office of Immigration Review cited the pending case and declined to answer questions about the changes to the arrangement known as the National Qualified Representative Program. Despite the alarm over an ethical bind, the DOJ points out that many attorneys in the program have said they'll continue offering their services after scrounging up other funding. That's the case for Yermina Gonzalez Crespo, an attorney with the Pennsylvania Immigration Resource Center, who will continue aiding a 63-year-old with mental health challenges facing removal. I've tried this alone, the Mexican grandmother client said on a video interview from detention. It's very hard, and the judge told me I couldn't do this by myself. The woman said she was a green card holder and lived in the country since 1979, that a misdemeanor assault charge in 2020 upended her life. It wasn't until she landed on an ICE transfer flight in 2024 that she realized the gravity of the situation. I couldn't breathe. I was numb, petrified. I told him, no, I can't stay here. I've got my legal papers. I just got out of jail. I did my time. I knew I would get sick again. After 8 months of detention, a judge recognized the woman's rapidly deteriorating mental state and assigned representation. Now on steady medication, the woman says she's busy sweeping and scrubbing the detention center for $10 a week. She is using it exclusively to call family, $2.50 for a 3-minute call, $4 for a video. The grandmother of 10 has been keeping her cooking skills sharp in detention, making do with limited ingredients for tamales and birria tacos. Being the eldest detainee with her black frame glasses and graying hair, she said others call her mama. You have to make them with love. It's not any special seasoning. It's love, she said. Yeah.
What the fuck does this matter?
Like, do you have violin music to play behind this bullshit?
Because
I mean, if you're on a green card, you are told if you break the law, commit a crime, you lose your green card. That's why she said she had a green card since
79.
Well, it said she's lived in the country since 79 and she's a green card holder. So how long did she have the green card before? Because why wouldn't you just get citizenship if you had a green card?
Plus, it's irrelevant. I've seen lots of stories about ICE arresting somebody who's been in the country for 20 years. I'm like, well, you've been breaking the law for 20 years.
20 years, yeah. You just got away with it for 20 years. Now go the fuck home. Why don't have any family there? Well, not my problem, dude.
Sorry.
When we find the rest of your family, they'll be joining you. How about that?
God, crazy talk.
Can we scoop up like the South Side Chicago, Jim, and like because it'd be wouldn't take much to clean up that city.
So the immigration judge's question changes. News of the changes to the attorney program trickled from the administration into a confusing mix of messages. No changes planned as of January 24th. Then an email signaled a cut April 3rd. Then a rapid reversal, disregard the cut. And finally, the official note from EOIR Acting Director Sears Owen. As of April 25th, the funding was cut for convenience. No other justification for changes has been delivered. Paul Schmidt, a former immigration judge and chair of the Board of Immigration Appeals, called it another battle in the administration all-out war on due process.
It's not.
Fuck this guy.
Okay.
It's not an all-out war on due process. They get their due process.
He's the Board of Immigration Appeals, not illegal immigration appeals. There's a difference, dude. Here's the whole thing. Illegal immigration is not immigration. It's my mom was from France. Okay. She had a green card her whole time in the US. She never got arrested and lost her green card status.
I would imagine all of our parents.
No wonder this guy, Paul Schmitz, no longer works for the immigration department. He's probably fired for something fucking. But it says, it's disheartening. We took a system that was created to implement best practices, and now we're back to the worst way to do this. What the best way to do it is to get them out as fast as possible.
Well, the best way to do it is not let them in. Like, they have to get in legally.
Are illegal immigrants entitled to due process under the Constitution?
They get due process, but it's not like they don't get full-blown trials. Immigration is not. They set up the Immigration and Nationalization Act, set up special courts that are administrative courts to handle immigration. That's why they always say, well, it's not criminal. It's not criminal. It's not criminal because it's special courts. It's not the actual, like the federal district courts that are handling it. They took it away from the district courts because it was becoming a pain in the ass with all these. They were clogging up district courts.
Yeah, too many of them. Yep.
It says, despite the administration's aim to accelerate and streamline immigration judgments, the funding cut could backfire. Another retired immigration judge said, it's a travesty. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. These are difficult cases that immigration judges know move faster with a qualified representative. Marks and judges said judges will be left to wade through immigrant stories for relevant legal elements, and the lack of attorneys will create more opportunities for error that could turn into more appeals and slower judgments. Yeah, I don't think so. How are they going to get an appeal with no judge? For past Cartagena, the young Honduran facing removal, he's back on his own, writing songs and sketching art while he awaits his court date. His favorite song, November Rain by Guns N' Roses, plays in his head while he battles his depression and suicidal ideation.
That's a good one.
Sorry, send him home. Woodruff, his attorney, His former attorney still keeps in touch via phone despite officially withdrawing from the case. She worries his mental health is only worsened as he faces a judge who signaled Taz Cartagena should be able to represent himself. I do not know what to tell the judge, he said. I do not know what I'm supposed to do. You're supposed to go home.
Yeah.
You have no legal right to be here. I'm sorry.
Because you draw art and listen to music? Who the fuck cares?
And it says on June 30th, he'll plead his case alone in front of the immigration judge. I mean, there's really no thing. It's like you have no legal right to be here. You know, you have to go.
I could be. Somebody walks into your house uninvited. You have the right to throw him out. No difference.
Well, it's yeah. Unless you're in California, where people can just squat on your property and it takes forever to get them thrown off your property, Jim. They throw up tents on your property and you're like, you got to go. And they're like, no, I'm here. And the cops don't do anything.
We're going to move on to another story. This one is very disturbing. It says, sleeper cells. Prior to the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear weapons programs, Iran admitted that it had hundreds of so-called sleepers in the U.S. In just the last week, the Trump administration has arrested 130 of these suspected terrorists here illegally, at least one of whom was a sniper in the Iranian army before crossing the border illegally. Dun, 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 dun.
Lord. Hey, Jim, I'm going to check out. I got to get up and go to Wisconsin tomorrow for the day. So
okay.
Thanks for having me on. Chat,
no problem.
Nice talking to you guys. Julio, see you later, buddy.
See you, Dave.
If you guys want to check out my bourbon reviews channel, me and my boys will be talking about, we'll be doing a live stream probably at 5:00 tomorrow to talk about bourbon. And then on my regular BTM reviews channel, we have a special guest, Julio's favorite person.
Oh, no.
His name is Jack, and he has a channel called Cooking with Jack. And we will be interviewing him. So that'll be at 7:00 Central. Thanks, Jim. We'll talk soon, buddy.
No problem.
Glad to see you back home too, man.
All right, cool.
See you
If
later.
I hang out for a little bit longer, Jim.
I want you to hang out.
All right, cool.
We're going to leave too?
No,
I don't know how much longer I'm going to go tonight because I went for 5 hours last night. I do have a whole shitload of things opened up, but so here we go.
Well, let's go.
What did I do? Oh,
we're talking about sleeper cells.
Okay, yeah. So then we said acting ICE Director Todd Lyons explained how the Trump administration is actively targeting Iranian sleeper cells, arresting over 130 in the last 7 days. See what he has to say.
Threats from inside the U.S. in the wake of American strikes on Iran. Now, ICE is stepping in, arresting 130 Iranian nationals in 7 days. With more on the action the agency is taking, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons is here with us now. Thank you so much for being here, Director. Let's just start off with this threat from Iran. What is the latest in terms of the number of Iranian nationals that have been deported, and what can you tell us about this sleeper cell threat?
Well, thanks, Brian, for having me. Yeah, it's great that you guys give us the opportunity to highlight the great work that the men and women of ICE are doing, especially to combat these sleeper threats. The last administration has left us so vulnerable that we do have so many potential threats that could be in the United States. You had that great graph up there. You show over 130 arrests of Iranian nationals just recently. But ICE isn't just focused on Iranians. We're focused on all high-risk countries that came in through the past administration. You have countries like Syria, Iran, Somalia, Eastern Bloc countries that all want to do harm to the United States. So that's what ICE is focused on. We're out there ensuring that we identify these individuals that either are known gotaways or are known suspected terrorists that came through our southern or northern border under the last administration. We're focused on finding those cells and finding anyone that wants to do harm to the United States before they can do any type of potential terrorist act.
Director, was there anything specific? Can you give us any anecdote to give us an idea of who was deported? Were these sleeper cell threats activated in some way after the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran?
Brian, we've been focused on a lot of these high-risk countries, even before the incidents of last weekend. But what I can tell you is they were actively pursuing any type of ongoing criminal and counterintelligence information that we receive. So just to highlight a few of the ones that we did arrest. We did arrest a former military sniper from one of these high-risk countries. We arrested an Iranian with ties to Hezbollah. So these are the type of individuals that were roaming the streets before ICE stepped in.
Right.
So we're actively working with our other federal agencies, working with the intelligence community to ensure that we go ahead and we locate that these unvetted threats that came through our porous border before, and that we want to go ahead and show that ICE is a viable law enforcement tool to help keep our community safe, especially in times when it's heightened threats just like this.
Director Lyons, the House might have helped out your agency this week, passing a bill that would allow the deportation of illegal immigrants convicted of DUIs. Are you encouraged by this type of action in Congress, and how does that help you?
You know, Brian, I'm really encouraged by it because it just shows that people realize that what ICE does is go after these significant criminal threats. And anyone who doesn't think a DUI conviction or a DUI arrest isn't significant, they should talk to those angel moms and dads out there that have lost loved ones due to these senseless crimes. It's very promising to see that now ICE is able to use their entire immigration portfolio to go after these public safety threats. And I applaud any elected official that wants to work with ICE to help us get rid of these public safety threats. You know, even it will help us identify any of these criminal aliens that some say, you know, DUI is a lower level crime, but that DUI can affect any American citizen throughout the country.
What do you think about that, Julio? You think that they should be, anyone, if they get arrested for a DUI, you think they should be zipping them out?
Yes, but I don't like what he said. Any of these, if you're here legally, you are a criminal.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you have a DUI or you do this or that. It's irrelevant. They all need to go back. I mean, so.
I mean, I don't like. I think they're trying to classify DUIs as a violent crime. I mean, like if it's a DUI where somebody gets hurt, it's definitely a violent crime. Like these people that are killing people because they're drunk driving and stuff, like seems to happen a lot.
We're of a different age, though, Jim. You know, now you got to do victim impact panels and all that stuff.
Like I said, just talk to any one of those angel moms and dads who have lost someone. So I'm very pleased to see that Congress and elected officials are coming together to help ICE do their law enforcement mission.
On the other hand, Director, nearly 200 House Democrats voted against a resolution to condemn the anti-ICE riots that took over Los Angeles earlier this month. What's your message to those Democrats?
That's insane.
You know, I really wish they would see that ICE is, like I said, a viable law enforcement tool and a great law enforcement partner to help keep communities safe. If you look at the events that led up to the riots in Los Angeles, we always hear from elected officials and other groups that if ICE had a criminal warrant, if ICE had a search warrant or a federal judge signed an arrest warrant, we would work with ICE. And that's what ICE was doing. ICE was out there doing a criminal law enforcement mission, yet we had protests and the rhetoric against ICE was just outrageous. I just really wish that all elected officials would just come together and see the value that ICE does, that the great work the men and women do every day to keep this nation safe. That's what I hope for. I really hope that elected officials will come together and let us do our law enforcement mission and help keep America safe.
Director Lyons, I need to ask you about this. According to the track immigration database, of the 56,000 people that are in ICE detention as of June 15th, it says that 72% have no criminal record beyond their immigration-related violations. We have heard time and time again about the administration's worst first, going after the worst immigrants out there that have criminal
Julio's
records.
back.
This data shows that a vast
I
majority.
was wondering what happened to Julio.
I apologize. I don't know what's happening.
What is your response to that data? Is there a change in policy?
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I think if DUIs definitely, if they're here and they get a DUI and you can say they're illegal aliens, they should definitely be getting them out of the country.
Sure.
Because obviously they're not driving the correct way if they're.
But it's not because they've been caught doing a DUI. If they get caught jaywalking and they're determined to be illegal, they should be sent back. I think a lot of this rhetoric that even the guy that's kind of like the guy on the right is too much rhetoric, too many words. It's not that hard. If you're not supposed to be here and
Jesus, his computer just keeps crashing. Computer just keeps crashing. I don't know. So let's play here. There's Julio.
All right.
There's Julio.
I don't know what's going on, Jim.
Was it your computer or what is it?
I don't know. I was on stream.
Julio keeps getting dropped out. This is crazy. Okay. All right. Okay. Oof. Well, Ducking Felonies, just for you. I just set it up right now. I have a Cash App. It's Jim Tells You, so go ahead. I don't know if it's going to make you happy. me get back to this.
No, Brian, I think you've heard the president say it, and Secretary Noem has made it clear. She wants us to go out there and do our law enforcement mission. So when you see numbers like that, a lot of these numbers are focused on criminal convictions. But what ICE is also doing is arresting these individuals that have committed crimes.
Hold on. So here's Jim. Here's $10 to keep Julio going. Just kidding. Julio's the best. How's your shoulder? It's still a little sore. I got another doctor's appointment next month. They're going to take another look at it. Might have to get an MRI. Who knows? I might have to get surgery. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the $10. What's this? Choosing Heretic says, I was in the hockey box 6 times this week. No chats. I can imagine Big Brother is looking up, keeping busted up. Okay, hold on. I got to fix this. We go in here. Where's he at? All right, Choosy. I will make you a moderator. How's that? That way they can't screw with you. All right. Is that good? Chooserins? Yeah. So thank you though very much, Kevin, for the $10. Greatly appreciated. So let's get back to the story here.
Convicted yet that have been re-released back into the community. So that's the one thing I wish the American public could focus on, is the fact that while these individuals aren't convicted yet, another law enforcement agency deemed that individual a public safety threat enough to arrest them and put them in a local jurisdiction. What ICE is doing is coming in and we're arresting these individuals so they can't go out and do harm again. But on top of that, Secretary Noem and President Trump realized that ICE is a viable law enforcement tool. And like any law enforcement agency, if we're out there going after the worst of the worst and we encounter individuals that have broken immigration law or that are here illegally, we are going to go ahead and take you into custody. We're not going to turn a blind eye like previous administrations and just let people go that are here illegally. If you're in this country illegally, you have committed a crime. And ICE is going to open up its full portfolio and law enforcement powers to make sure that we keep America safe.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, thank you so much for just...
Are you serious? Why would you do that? That is extremely generous. Thank you very much. Wow. I won't say anything because you're telling me to shush, so I won't. But wow, that's all I'll say. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, hold on. I gotta fix this too. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Wow. All right. Sorry. Mid live ads getting a bunch. They have. Oh, wait. Is there ads? Hold on. I can fix that. Sorry. That shouldn't be happening. That should not be happening. I'll fix that. There you go. It shouldn't be happening anymore. Sorry about that. That is bad news. All right, so we're going to jump into another article. Well, wait, hold on. Go back to this. Let's see what it says. This all so Iranian terrorists coming in. So yeah, so basically, but they've been arresting them. They've been arresting them, trying to get rid of them. So that's good, right? Get rid of them. And we're going to do this. So on the Iran front, we're going to jump over to this Fordo. This was the place that the Trump administration bombed. So this is an article talking about why it stood still and why their uranium stayed put. On June 22nd, 2025, the United States struck deep using bunker buster bombs. Operation Midnight Hammer targeted Iran's most fortified nuclear facility, Fordo, along with a constellation of related sites. Within hours, a new narrative emerged. According to some analysts and media commentators, Iran had foreseen the strike and whisked its highly enriched uranium out of harm's way just days before the bombs fell. It was a seductive story, part thriller, part geopolitical chess match, but it is also, on closer inspection, fiction. Bordeaux is not a shipping warehouse. It's a subterranean stronghold situated 2,500 feet beneath the mountains near Guam. The site is more than a nuclear lab. It is a fortress built precisely to defy attack. Iran spent more than a decade and upwards of $2 billion to design a facility whose central purpose was to shelter its enriched uranium. So any theory suggesting that the uranium was hastily removed before the strike must explain why Iran would choose at the critical moment to abandon the one place specifically engineered to protect it. Let's see here. We're going to show us.
Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Bordeaux went exactly where they were intended to go. A bomb has 3 effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast, ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over.
That's crazy. The story begins with our satellite imagery. On June 19th and 20th, 16 large dump trucks were observed at Bordeaux. They were not empty nor discrete. These were trucks of a kind suited for hauling construction materials, cement, earth-moving equipment, steel sheeting. Analysts who reviewed the imagery noted bulldozers actively placing cement covers over air shafts. These shafts are the known weak points in any deeply buried complex, where pressure and airflow must meet engineering limits, but where adversaries might also insert precision-guided munitions. To harden these vulnerabilities is to reinforce the very purpose of Bordeaux, to endure. Crucially, none of these observed trucks were the type required to transport nuclear material. Not one matched the profile of the secure, shielded 18-wheelers required by nuclear handling protocols. Nor did they appear to be departing the facility. Most were simply repositioned about a kilometer northwest of the core site, well outside the blast radius, but still within operational range. One truck stood near the main entrance, but again, not the kind of vehicle suited to carry fissile material. There is no visual evidence of loading, no convoy, no escort vehicles, no attempt to obscure or evade. In short, there is no movement that even faintly resembles a uranium exfiltration. To understand the impossibility of the uranium having been removed, one must first understand what moving enriched uranium entails. Iran is believed to have an approximately 900 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% at Bordeaux. That quality in powder form must be stabilized into uranium oxide and then sealed into 30 separate type BU containers. Each container stands 4 feet tall, nearly 2 feet wide, and weighs between 1,100 and 1,760 pounds. They are not tossed in the back of trucks like crates of fruit. They require fixed cradles, meticulous spacing of at least 3 or 4 feet to avoid criticality risks, and strict handling by trained nuclear engineers and radiation safety officers. Criticality risks arise when excessive fissile material like enriched uranium is placed too closely together under certain configurations such that it could support a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction. Even though each container is subcritical on its own, improper spacing or environmental conditions could elevate the risk. Therefore, these containers must be spaced deliberately and isolated by materials designed to absorb or block neutrons, ensuring absolute containment and safety. Even in ideal conditions, the logistics are Herculean. A standard 53-foot trailer can carry at most 10 to 12 such containers, given weight and spacing requirements. So 3 fully loaded 18-wheelers are the bare minimum, but those trucks would require armed escorts, route coordination, radiation scanning, and site-to-site secure handoff, all of which are impossible to conceal, all of which were absent. There is not a single satellite image, civilian witness, or even Iranian media report to support such a convoy ever departed Fordo. What would it take to move 30 containers from 2,500 feet underground to surface level trucks? A subterranean ballet under ideal circumstances. That would mean 16 to 20 specialized personnel, radiation technicians, nuclear handlers, riggers, elevator operators, and logistics supervisors. Each container would be robotically handled, slowly ascending via freight lifts or service elevators, tracked, logged, and placed into its cradle. Those conditions were not present. Instead, what satellite imagery showed were a couple of dozen surface-level construction workers, laborers moving dirt, cement, and steel. There were no cranes, no forklifts, no elevators in operation. The equipment needed to safely and efficiently transfer nuclear materials was not in place. Under such circumstances, even if Iran had foolishly attempted to begin such a transfer, it could have taken a week or more to complete. Even then, the trucks required to carry the uranium were simply not there. Well, this is not a job that begins with a backhoe and ends with a shovel. It is not something one does in a panic or covertly. It requires discipline, coordination, and visible machinery. In a logistical symphony, not a sleight of hand, and yet, in the days leading up to the airstrike, no such operation was visible. And then, instead, what we saw were trucks hauling cement and bulldozers covering vents. The last-minute attempt to bolster the fortification, not empty it. Nor would it make strategic sense for Iran to move the uranium. Had it been relocated, any new site would, by definition, be less protected than Fordo. Even if dispersed into multiple civilian facilities or mobile units, the movement itself would expose the material to satellite surveillance and immediate destruction. Given the increasingly tight Israeli and U.S. ISR intelligence surveillance reconnaissance coverage, any convoy carrying nuclear material would have been ripe and legally justifiable target for drone strikes. So this is showing what the thing looked like. It had the centrifuge, main hall, main tunnel entrances, side ventilation shafts, auxiliary tunnel entrance, blast trap. So, moreover, Iran knows this. Fordo was built after Israel took out Syria's Nascent nuclear facility in 2007 with a single sortie. It was designed precisely because surface-level concealment no longer sufficed. To move uranium for Fordo is to abandon its very raison d'etre. Means its reason for existing. Huh. I'm looking at this. I'm trying to find these. It says, notice how the mountain collapsed and pancaked the floors below. I don't know. So what explains the disinformation? Likely it is a classic tactic. Inject doubt into the aftermath, suggest that uranium may still be intact, foster fear, uncertainty, and doubt. The acronym is apt, FUD, and FUD is the tool of both state propaganda and media opportunism. By seeding the idea that the strike failed to eliminate the core threat, Iran preserves psychological deterrence. It invites domestic pride, foreign caution, and diplomatic ambiguity. But propaganda is not proof, narratives are not fact, trucks moving cement are not trucks moving uranium. Skeptics may ask if it's possible that Iran anticipated the strike and removed the uranium in secret. Possible in the abstract, perhaps, but supposing a magician slipped the card out of your pocket. But we are not dealing with cards, nor with illusionists. We are dealing with 900 kilograms of weapons-grade uranium and a bunker designed to absorb the attack. If Fordo cannot protect the material, nothing can, and Iran knows it. The simplest explanation is the correct one. The uranium remained in place. The reinforcements observed on January 19th and 20th were desperate attempts to patch weak points to survive the coming assault. Fordo did not empty, it braced, and when the bunker busters landed, they hit the mark. Anyone asserting otherwise bears the burden of proof. So far, they have not offered it. Instead, we are left with rumors, conjecture, speculation, interpretations of satellite shadows, and physical, technical, and strategic realities all point in one direction. The uranium stayed put. Yeah. Well, I would think, too, Allegan News, they should have readings from the site. If they actually did strike and they did hit and explode, they should have got massive blooms of radiation coming from the explosions, I would think. So, not that they would tell us. But who knows? Who knows? All right, so, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have been following anything out of New York with the guy that's won the Democrat primary. And I'm going to have to look more into the New York... I'm going to have to look more into this. Does anyone know? I know that they said something about the that the primary was ranked choice, but is the actual general mayor's election ranked choice too? So we'll have to see. Because here we go. So Zoran Mamdani doubles down on plan to target whiter neighborhoods with higher taxes and said billionaires shouldn't exist. The website of New York City mayoral frontrunner says, okay, let's say Sliwa and Adams supposedly teaming up to stop him usually actually isn't ranked choice. Yeah, so maybe just the Democrat primary is ranked choice because they can change the rules. What's this say? iPhone membership link. HCPYouTube.com. Jim tells you join. Cash App. Jim tells you. Yeah, there you go. So it says the website says he'll shift the tax burden to whiter neighborhoods. When asked about his openly racist agenda, he insists it's a proposal, not a proposal at all, but rather a description of what we're seeing right now. So let's see what this guy has to say.
Create a system of fairness. Went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes. And yet by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now, what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right, you are a
So he's a self-described socialist. So. Self-described socialist. So let's see what else we got going on here. So Schellenberger has to say, this guy's ability to lie so calmly while smiling should send chills up the spines of every New Yorker. What's to say here? What's the fallout if this guy gets deported, unnaturalized? Well, I don't know. Like, if they could prove he lied to get his citizenship, like somehow if he lied or did something before he got his citizenship, they could denaturalize him. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. They're basically trying to argue that anyone saying that is a racist or Islamophobic. So we'll have to see how it works. I think that they should be able to beat him. But there was another person saying that Sliwa and them, like, as long as they as long as Sliwa and Adams supposedly teaming up, yeah. As long as and supposedly Cuomo's running as an independent also. If you have Adams running as an independent and Cuomo running as an independent, this guy running as a Democrat, I don't know. I don't see how the Democrats going to win if you got these two other people that are going to pull quite a bit of the. Oh, the political. You're saying what would be the reaction to him being sent away? Oh, I don't know. Like I'm sure people would protest and scream about it, and there would be riots probably. So who knows? But he was born in Uganda, and I think he's a citizen of Uganda and a citizen of South Africa, maybe. But I'm not exactly sure. So he could have taken down. I don't regret the website said, but I deleted it because it doesn't express what I believe. Instead, he's just asking millions of New Yorkers to believe his own obnoxious, flagrant lie rather than their own eyes. That's creepy and wrong. Everyone can see for themselves that he used a gratuitous racial reference regarding a tax proposal. We don't tax people on race, so why use it? Because he and his campaign wanted to introduce race. And that's not the first time Zohran Mamdani should delete his flagrantly racist tweets and website language, apologize, and promise never to invoke racism again. But it says right here, on the phone walking to work when a white guy sitting on a nearby ledge decides it's a good time to let me know what's on his mind. Well, so... Yeah, so shift the tax burden from overtaxed homes and outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Yeah, why put race in there? Yeah, Chris, Adams and Cuomo are horrible, but so is this guy, and Sliwa will never get elected. Probably not. But the point is, if you have if it's a four-way race, Chris, with one Democrat, Mamdani, and then Adams, who's a black man, and Cuomo, who's going to get a lot of the Democrat vote that's not going to vote for Mamdani, they might actually pull enough vote away to let someone else. Who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It says the audacity of him to cite Dr. Martin Luther King should make your skin crawl. King adamantly rejected anti-white racism. Mamdani's call for higher taxes on white neighborhoods should shock New Yorkers. If they elect him as mayor, they will have no excuse. He's made clear that he will advance a racist agenda and then demand people believe his lies. Gaslighting comes so easily to this guy. Yeah. Like this, in the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. Oh. It's not great that Eric Adams appears to have accepted gifts that exceed what's allowed by law, but at least he's committed to non-racialism, equal justice under the law, and expanded conservatorships for mentally ill homeless. He says, New York socialist mayor frontrunner says his policies will lower housing and food prices and reduce crime and disorder. They won't because they'll increase them. The reason he won is because he's pandered to young voters inflicted by envy. Yeah. That's what most of it is, actually. Yeah. He doubles down. Mamdani doubles down on plan to target whiter neighborhoods with higher taxes. Billionaires shouldn't exist. Socialist New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani doubled down Sunday on his plans to jack up property taxes on richer, whiter neighborhoods while asserting billionaires shouldn't exist. Mamdani, dubbed the Fidel Castro of New York by one deep-pocketed critic, claimed his soak the rich proposal was not driven by race, despite his campaign platform were explicitly targeting white homeowners. This is a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment on what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed, Mamdani told NBC News Meet the Press. We've seen time and again that this property tax system that is inequitable. It is one that actually Eric Adams ran on, saying they would change it in the first 100 days. The presumptive Democratic nominee for New York City mayor shrugged off concerns that invoking race could alienate voters, arguing he's just naming things as they are. So what they're talking about is they enacted in law, caps on how much they can assessments can be raised on housing. And so basically, because as property values go up in some neighborhoods, that the assessments don't go up because of the caps. And so that's how he's saying they're not paying their fair share of property taxes because the houses are worth more than the assessments. And in the areas where they set the property tax, where the home values haven't increased as much. They're not saving as much because they're not limited on the caps. That's all it is. So it's just a scam. The socialists bemoaned the shrinking tax base in the Big Apple, but pinned the blame on soaring cost of living, pushing people out of the city while touting his plan to raise taxes on the 1%. We're talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut, Mandami said. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose the city. And this moment is to tax them more. While acknowledging that he doesn't have the power to raise taxes at the level he wants without the state government approval, Mandami pointed to his ability to take what is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. He also suggested that billionaires shouldn't exist. I don't think we should have billionaires, frankly. New York City is home to more billionaires than any other town in the world, with 123. Mandami was specifically asked about billionaire John Katzimercedes, who owns the Ristetti's supermarket chain and has threatened to sell his stores if the Democratic Socialist is elected mayor. In order to run New York City suddenly as mayor, you do not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Katzimercedes. But I think that guy also owns WABC 77 in New York and 107.1 in New York. He also owns radio stations. But I want to make clear that the vision for the city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. Also, he's with Al Sharpton, a guy who doesn't pay taxes. He owes money, and Spike Lee. Go figure. And the reason I say that my proposals, even the ones that increase the top corporate tax rate in New York to match that of New Jersey, are the ones that would also benefit those business leaders, because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is how expensive the city is, which is preventing them from attracting and retaining talent they would need to grow their business. Katzimercedes, who also owns WABC Radio, did not take kindly to Mandami saying billionaires like him shouldn't exist. Zohan is trying to be Fidel Castro in New York City, Katzimercedes told the Post. Katz said that in 1990 he visited Cuba when he described it as a failed country. If Zoran is elected mayor, he'll make New York City the next Detroit, Katzimercedes added. Mandami, during Sunday's interview, also again refused to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, which many people believe is a rallying cry to harm or kill Jews. Welker asked him 3 times and he wouldn't condemn it. Because it is. That's what the guy who killed the Jews in D.C. was saying, globalize intifada. What it means. The intifada is killing the Jews. What's wrong with these people? They're trying to cover for them. That's not language that I use. The language that I use is the language that I will continue to use. Look at the doublespeak. That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead the city will speak clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief of universal human rights. Oh my goodness. Hey, what's this? Wrestler Town with $5. Thank you, Wrestler Town. Imagine being a New York millionaire so out of touch that you can escape to New Jersey to save on taxes. That's crazy. Oh, a second. 1 second. Shit. Where am I at here? I'm getting all screwed up here. What happened today? I don't believe the role of mayor is to police speech in a manner, but House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, who represents part of Brooklyn, said on ABC's This Week program that globalize the intifada is clearly inflammatory language. Globalize the intifada, by way of example, is not accepting the phrase. He's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward, Jeffries says. Yeah, they always make excuses. Ultimately, it's Mandami says he's confident he will win the general election. He's up against incumbent Mayor Eric Adams running as an independent, Republican nominee Curtis Lewa, ex-governor Andrew Cuomo, who he defeated in the primary, and may campaign on the independent ballot line, and the independent Jim Walden. Ultimately, it's a referendum on how Adams made the city so unaffordable, Mandami said of the race. But Adams didn't make the city unaffordable. That's ridiculous. For too long, politicians have pretended to simply be bystanders to the cost of living crisis. They've actually exacerbated it, and our vision is one that will respond to it and make the city affordable for every New Yorker. This guy is a crazy communist, I tell you. Crazy communist. Thank you, Wrestler Tom, for the $5. Imagine being a New York millionaire so out of touch that you escaped to New Jersey to save on taxes. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Here, check this out. So, breaking. GPS data places Zohan Mandami at Barack Obama's war room twice in just 6 weeks. Also present were individuals tied to the Muslim Brotherhood and 2 men believed to be Iranian MOIS operatives, likely connected to the IRGC Unit 840. Oh, look at this. Julio Scissors, my good friend, coming through with 5 Jim Tells You memberships. Thank you, Julio Scissors. Let's see who got him. Let's see who got him here. Terry received a gifted membership. Variant received a gifted membership. Rob Painless, Bonita Beach 312, and Bo Hoover. So go ahead, guys. Thank Julio, and thank you very much, Julio. And if you got a membership, please remember to thank Julio. The same operatives previously met with Majid Destanji Faharani in Venezuela in 2024. At the exact time, intelligence suggests there were active discussions about possible assassination attempt against President Trump. Is this true? I feel like this is just a random guy posting stuff. I don't know. These aren't random meetings. They're calculated movements involving people who've already been linked to fake federal agents impersonating DHS, U.S. Marshals, and more, like Aryan Tazadeh and Haider Ali, one of the ties to Pakistani intelligence, the other Iranian. Obama's war room isn't fiction. It's located at 2446 Belmont Road, Northwest, just minutes from the Islamic Center of Washington, D.C. That's not a coincidence. That's proximity by design. The truth is, Barack Obama is still the most powerful man in the Democrat Party, and he's not acting alone. He's running operations, and the media refuses to report a single detail. Ask yourself why. Tony Segura run that story. And here's Meghan McCain says, I will never get the mindset of someone coming here, his family becoming millionaires in Hollywood and academia, and then saying, you know what, everything about the system that worked for my family in America is trash and needs to be more like third world autocracy. Yeah, that's it.
You are a self-described democratic socialist.
Communist,
Do you think
Marxist.
billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, Z Van Fleet, who's an actual asylum seeker from China, says that's the narrative of the entire Democratic Party. America is systemically oppressive. It must be taken down. And let's be clear, by billionaires, he means anyone with financial independence. In fact, billionaires generally escape these guys' confiscation schemes. It's ordinarily people they ruin. Here's Jake Tapper to Mayor Adams. When did Mandami praise Hamas? I don't recall him ever praising Hamas. Adams says there's several videos, even during his days of being a rap artist, of praising Hamas and other terrorist groups.
Turn to your likely Democratic challenger, Mamdani, because you said recently that the Jewish community in New York should be concerned about him. You've accused him of using anti-Semitic rhetoric. What specifically has Mamdani said that you think is anti-Semitic?
Pro-Hamas. Hamas is a dangerous terrorist organization that should be destroyed. When you embrace the philosophies of Hamas, not only what they do to their own people, but what they did in Gaza to lift them up and praise them, I think that's a clear indicator that something.
I think Adams might be off though, because if I'm not mistaken, the Holy Land Foundation and the Holy Land Five that they were convicted. I believe they were convicted for support of Hezbollah, not Hamas. And that's who he supported. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe it is Hamas.
Is wrong with that. But he has
when did he praise Hamas? I don't recall him ever praising Hamas.
There's several videos, even during his days of being a rap artist, of praising Hamas and other terrorist groups. And so a little research, you'll be able to find it. But I'm not competing against him only for what he's done and praising Hamas. I'm competing against him because this is not a socialist city. And that much of what he's promising to people, which I think is really deplorable, people that are struggling, like my family did, living without the means that we needed, when you promise them that you're going to give everything away free and you don't have the authority as the mayor to do so, he doesn't have the authority to raise income tax on the top 1% of New Yorkers. Assemblymen have that authority, and that's who he is. He couldn't do it in the assembly. How are you going to deliver it as the mayor of the city?
Well, he has. I mean, he obviously caught the imagination of a lot of Democratic voters. His victory was pretty handy. You're talking about rent freezes, which he does have the power to do. Free bus service, universal child care, creating city-run grocery stores. Do you disagree with those programs, or just he doesn't have the authority to do it on his own?
Let's go back. You said rent freeze. He has the authority to do so. No, he does not. There's the independent rent guideline boards that independently make that decision. So he does not have the authority to do that. He had the authority to do free buses. I gave him a pilot project to do when he was in the assembly. He failed to carry out on it. 4 years in the assembly, he has not passed one bill. He's making promises to people who are really struggling that he can't deliver on. The foundation of all the things he wants to do for free is coming from an income tax increase on 1%. He does not have the authority as the mayor to do that. He has the authority as an assemblyman, and he did not accomplish everything he's talking about doing now. He could have done in the state, but he failed to do so.
Wow, that's crazy. He could have done more, but he didn't do it. Okay.
So I want to turn.
So let's see. We got to keep going here. More on Mandami, I believe. So the nation's largest city is bracing for a transfer of control to an Islamic socialist. Zoran Mandami is the NYP. If Zoran Mandami, the NYP, if Zoran Mandami, the NYT is expecting as many as 40% of its police officers to resign. To fill the game, Zoran will create an unarmed safety department focused on helping criminals instead of arresting them. Right here, experts and veteran police officers warn that a New York City led by Islamic socialists could face a dual crisis of declining public safety and rising crime, with many NYPD officers resigning. Mandami proposes establishing a new department of community safety to assume police duties, replacing a diminished NYPD. This department would consist of unarmed safety officers trained to address the needs of residents from the city's LGBTQ, legal, and Islamic communities. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. See, it says, New York City Mayor electing Zoran Mandami. New York City Mayor would spur huge cop exodus, rising crime straight out of Gotham City. Wow. Here's the story here. Yep. A New York City led by the socialists would mean a two-pronged breakdown of public safety. Crime spiraling out of control and NYPD officers leaving en masse. Experts and veteran cops say. Critics of the Democrat mayoral nominee and frontrunner heading into November's general election, aren't buying Mandami's 11th hour vow that he won't defund the police or shrink NYPD's force if elected, a reversal of his longstanding positions. Instead, they believe the U-turn during the final weeks of the primary campaign was just a craven political move to score votes with undecided voters. The city would be totally unsafe for people who live here, predicted Scott Monroe, president of the NYPD Detectives Endowment Fund. Endowment Association. I'll go to bed worrying about the phone ringing. I'm worried about my members getting killed. I don't want to plan any funerals. If you put a guy like him in there, our people are going to get hurt and nobody's going to want to do the job. It's going to put recruitment back 5 more steps, Monroe said. NYPD brass are quietly bracing for a potential mass exodus unless Mayor Adams, a Democrat, and retired NYPD captain seeking re-election as an independent, or GOP mayoral nominee Chris Sliwa pull off an upset. I've had guys call me and say, if he wins, I'm quitting. A police source said of Mandami. It's just weird that New York City would vote for him. I know he's not here for the police. An NYPD officer planning to retire soon after nearly 2 decades on the job said the city's predominantly far-left leadership, especially on the city council, already favors criminals over cops, and he believes the sentiment will grow worse under Mandami. This guy thinks the entire NYPD is racist, the veteran said. I think right now the department is more diverse than it has ever been. I don't think this guy has even stepped foot in a precinct. He's completely clueless to what the police department is today. He's going off the narrative that if you hate cops, you're going to get elected. Mandami's far-left platform doesn't include hiring more cops, a vow most other mayoral candidates made. Instead, he wants to create a new Department of Community Safety that operates separately from the police department. It would dramatically expand so-called violence interrupter programs and mental health teams that respond to 911 calls, especially in the city's subway system, where violent attacks by unhinged homeless people have been commonplace. He's trying to take the existing police department and turn them into social workers, said Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels. He wants to neuter the police department. Cops would not only be able to function as they have taken a solemn oath to do, to protect us, to go out there and grab those who are committing crimes and to have them locked up, Sliwa added. He has a weird notion of how policing is, as if it should be people like Mahatma Gandhi walking around, functioning as a social worker. That does not work. Under Adams, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, whom Mandami has said he'd consider retaining if elected, major crimes including homicide, robberies, and shootings are down 5% to date compared to last year and 8% since 2019. A longtime NYPD detective says he envisions the Big Apple under Mandami's leadership morphing into a crime-ridden Gotham City straight out of Batman. The detective also said it is hypocritical of Mandami to accept round-the-clock police detail protection as a mayoral candidate while clearly disliking the NYPD. You have police protecting you, but you don't want to protect the people of New York City, he said. However, far-left ex-New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says he believes Mandami has been unfairly demonized during the campaign, especially by ex-governor and mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo, and that New Yorkers shouldn't expect mass lawlessness under the 33-year-old socialist politician. He wants to keep the city safe, de Blasio insisted in the Post. He understands as a local elected official how important public safety is to people. It's not going to help him achieve his economic agenda if the city isn't safe. He has a chance to choose leaders who share his vision of getting more mental health care work done by healthcare professionals rather than police officers, added the ex-mayor and avid Mandami backer. I think a lot of police officers would agree with that. Yeah, like didn't de Blasio's wife steal like $1 billion or something that was supposed to go for mental health for homeless people? Mandami did not return messages. Hank Scheinkoff, a longtime consultant of Democratic campaigns and law enforcement agencies, said he's not buying Mandami's claim that he won't gut the NYPD if elected mayor. His supporters say he'll defund the police, said Scheinkoff. That's who he is, and that's what's going to happen. And we can't afford to lose a single cop. If this guy gets in power, we're going to lose a lot of cops. Mm-hmm. So, all right, we're going to switch gears, go to another story. This story is a video that I found interesting. It's 6 minutes straight of CNN admitting that right now President Trump is winning and Democrats are in big, big trouble. A segment like this would have been totally unthinkable in 2016 through 2020.
The mission was carried out with stealth and with precision. There were no American casualties. And while Congress is divided after receiving briefings on the extent of the damage, I'm sure that we've derailed Iran's nuclear program, at least temporarily. And there's some valuable deterrent effect for America's adversaries who witnessed last week's exercise. Then, last Tuesday, President Trump left the White House en route to Europe. At the time, there was a question as to whether Israel and Iran would honor a ceasefire. That caused the president to offer the most unfiltered, non-controversial, direct words that I can recall anybody ever saying about the Middle East.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Cut to The Hague, where he arrived for NATO meetings and was able to wrangle an agreement from our allies to more than double their defense spending target from 2% of gross domestic product to 5% by 2035. Also, while at NATO, in a press availability, he did something rare for Trump and I found rewarding. He showed empathy. It came in an exchange with a Ukrainian journalist who said that her husband was a soldier. She asked whether the U.S. would supply her country with Patriot missiles.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you very, it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
there now. They do want to have the anti-missile missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available. I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay?
Also in that presser, he was more reflective and respectful than usual of our allies.
They want to protect their country, and they need the United States. And without the United States, it's not going to be the same. And I left here differently. I left here saying that these people really love their countries. It's not a ripoff, and we're here to help them protect their country.
Back at home, Trump claimed that he's reached a trade deal with China and soon expects the same with India. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Bloomberg that the deal was signed earlier this week. China's Commerce Ministry said Friday the two sides had further confirmed the details of the framework. Of course, Trump's initial imposition of tariffs wreaked havoc on American markets back in the spring. But now the markets have rebounded and grown. The S&P 500, NASDAQ hit record highs just yesterday. And it's not just the stock market. Inflation, the great economic fear of recent times, seems to be tamed. The rate is now reported at 2.4%, down from a high of 7% just 4 years ago. Meanwhile, blue-collar workers have seen real wage growth of 1.7% in Trump's first 5 months. This is the largest such increase in nearly 3 generations. Notwithstanding its impact on our national debt, there's also hope among some that Trump's big, beautiful bill will give further financial relief to blue-collar workers, as well as create incentives to build more factories in the U.S. Some already see this happening. For instance, General Electric has just announced that it'll invest almost $500 million in moving production of washing machines from China to Kentucky. And then there's the border. Crossings have slowed to a trickle. According to CBP's May update, Southwest border encounters have fallen to about 282 a day, a drop of 93% from last year and the lowest since the early 1960s. Perhaps the loudest cheering for those border numbers is coming from America's Latino community, which might initially sound counterintuitive. On Thursday, Pew Research released an enormous data analysis of the 2024 election, which contained several surprises. High on that list, President Trump won a bigger percentage of the Latino vote than previously believed. Hillary Clinton had a 38% lead over Trump among Hispanics in 2016. Joe Biden beat Trump in this demo by 25 percentage points. Kamala Harris's margin among these same voters over Trump, just 3 points. Even more surprising, perhaps, Pew Research concludes that if everyone had voted in 2024, contrary to the widely held belief that higher turnout helps Democrats, Trump would still have won. The data show 44% of non-voters said that they would have gone for Trump compared to 40% of non-voters who would have gone for Harris. So if more had voted, his margin would have grown. Yesterday came a huge decision from the Supreme Court. The High Court declared that federal district judges exceeded their authority when issuing nationwide injunctions against Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. This will, of course, strengthen executive power both for Trump and for his successors. And finally, a Democratic socialist just won the nomination for mayor of New York City. And perhaps you're wondering, well, how does that affect Trump? It gives him the perfect foil, someone to play off in future political battles. This morning's New York Post references campaign literature for Zohran Mamdani, which advocates for increased taxation.
Anyway, so that's pretty interesting. It just keeps going and going and going, that they just keep talking about all the good stuff Trump did. CNN sudden panic over Trump's dominance in journalism and damage control. For years, they dismissed his America First agendas as fringe, but the 2024 results prove them catastrophically wrong. But Latinos voters flipped Miami-Dade by 12 points. Osceola County swung 15.5 points red, and Starr County 97% Hispanic went Republican for the first time since 1892. Democrats bet on divisive identity politics and lost suburban women, urban black men, and working-class rural voters. Harris' 5.6 point to collapse in Orlando and 85,000 vote Detroit margin collapse sealed her fate. The media's belated analysis is just them scrambling to explain the realignment they spent years denying. America rejected their narrative. Now they're forced to report it. The numbers don't lie. See the hard data behind the media's reversal. So winning. So here's another story now. And this is USAID, the number one sponsor of propaganda, war, death, and terror, all in the same name of socialism. In 2022, USAID paid Time magazine $4 million for naming Vladimir Zelensky Person of the Year. What? So they paid to do that? In 2024, USAID paid Politico $8 million. USAID was secretly funding the BBC to run anti-Trump, anti-Musk reports similar to the $300 million given by the Biden administration to Reuters to target Elon Musk. Reuters later won the Pulitzer Prize for their work on Elon Musk and misconduct at his businesses. USAID secretly paid $4 billion to Bill Gates, plus an additional $880 million to the WHO after President Trump withdrew from the World Death Organization. USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs. Without USAID, fake news would not have existed.
In 2024, Politico newspaper received over $8 million from USAID. According to WikiLeaks, USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs. Trump claimed that billions of dollars were spent by the USAID and other government agencies on supporting Democrats and their agenda. Trump administration believes that such waste of money is detrimental to the U.S. and that USAID needs to be reformed or shut down entirely.
So yeah, here's the Zelensky getting like all the stuff they're doing, the propaganda that they pushed, and all funded by USAID. Here's Vogue, yeah. So yeah. So. The Voice of America is no better. Carrie Lake is working on it, but it should be 100% eliminated. Okay. Now here's Mike Benz. The main point here is that so many supposed public health programs at USAID have been busted as covert action fronts that you simply cannot trust. Any USAID public health project is what it says. If it were, every internal USAID record and file for every project would be public. There's these people arguing, sync user. Instead of throwing the budget out with the bathwater, begins to inform everyone on HIV alone. We have 25 million lives saved via USAID programs and how they've been spreading them further. Keep the baby with the bathwater. Ben says, let's talk about the babies with the bathwater because I see a lot of bathwater and very little baby. Mike Benz discusses the finding of 4 sterilizations was found in Peru, sterilizing 300,000 people, and they are all over the abortion game in Africa and Latin America. So right there we have opposite of saving babies. USAID is taking the lives of baby. Mike then informs him of fake HIV protection programs which USAID set up with what they called the perfect excuse against the Cuban government because nobody would think they would they would establish recruiting offices for regime change. 2012, the CIA busted in Pakistan running a fake vaccine program to collect biometrics through a USAID-funded Save the Children, and the doctors were handpicked by USAID, and it was a CIA plan to collect blood and DNA for counterterrorism. He goes into Band-Aid and Live Aid, and these USAID assisted programs that of the 100 million raised, 95 million went to purchase weapons for rebels in Somalia. Wow. Think about that, everyone. Ben says, as for the baby with the bathwater argument, what we have here, what we are looking at, is USAID is doing versus what they say they're doing. Mike discusses some of the salvageable aspects of USAID in this segment when he highlights that when we want to topple a country, we push free speech to support dissident movements against a regime we don't support, along with the freedom of the press to combat communism. And at least then we were pushing universal values, whereas now we are pushing censorship. There's a lot to unpack and a lot of harsh truths of what Mike lays out about our benevolent USAID. That's right. There we go. A study of 64 CIA-backed covert regime change operations concluded the long-term goal of the regime change only work if the new government remains permanently subsidized by USAID.
Operations that succeed in toppling a foreign regime are still besieged by a principal agent problem. The reason why is that for an interstate dispute to have escalated to the point of regime change in the first place, the target government must have had a compelling reason not to acquiesce in the intervener's demands when the dispute first arose. For instance, the intervener's demands may have clashed with the target government's enduring geostrategic interests or brought them into conflict with powerful domestic opposition forces. Unfortunately for the intervener, this means that even if it succeeds in replacing a foreign government, the same political pressures that compelled the first government to act against their interests often continue to hold true for its successor as well. Consequently, I find that the only installed leaders who were willing to act as long-term agents for the United States were those who remained highly dependent on U.S. aid.
That's crazy. The study's finding aligns with decades of evidence showing USAID's role as a permanent subsidy for unstable client states rather than a tool for sustainable development. For example, USAID poured $5.4 billion into Ukraine from 2014 to 2024 to prop up the post-Maidan governments. Yet, corruption remains endemic, with Transparency International ranking Ukraine 104th globally in 2024. The Protect U.S. National Security Act, H.R. 1096, exemplifies. Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm going to have to call it a night. My grandson just woke up, and I have to go take care of him. So I apologize. I apologize to everyone. I'm going to have to end the stream now. Unfortunately, I apologize. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.